going on, everybody? This is Mike Baker, and you are listening to the Microsoft Recap. As always, I got my guy with me, Mike Bennett. What's
Whoa,
going on, Mike?
what's up?
Today, we are going to be talking about Microsoft's biggest flops of the decade. Uh, Basically, all the products that Microsoft has attempted to come out with that either just flopped in general or just never came to be, never came to fruition. Um, Next topic we're going to be talking about is Microsoft's deciding to make a Broadway musical style film about itself.
Oh
Like,
my God.
yeah, yeah, that's on a level conceited. I mean, gee, I mean, even if you make a video about yourself, like, and we understand infomercials and whatnot, but damn, a musical. And Microsoft proving that the 4-day work week uh, has improved the productivity in Japan and how that could potentially offer some type of uh, benefit to U.S. citizens and U.S. employees. Um, I don't know if that's actually ever going to be a thing, but I think it's just going to be a thing if we make it a thing in like on an individual basis.
Like
But
standard, like mandatory.
yeah, yeah, like it'll. I don't think it's going to become a thing until everybody individually just be like, you know what, I'm just taking off Friday.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah, I mean,
coming in
I'm just
Friday.
not coming in, and enough do it. 50% of the people do it. It's just gonna be the thing. But let's go ahead and start with these topics. Like I said, first topic is Microsoft's biggest flops of the decade. This is an article by Tech Republic, and they're basically just going into uh, a variety of products that Microsoft has attempted to come out with that has not succeeded. Three of the main top products that they are speaking about, if everybody remembers, Windows 8. Um, that's essentially the
Yeah.
OS to never be talked about again next to like Vista.
If
Vista,
everybody remembers, so I like how you preface that.
yeah, I mean, like if anybody remembers, like those are horrible days, and like that tiled interface really just it was horrible.
Oh,
Like the only thing that they left over with that in Windows 10 is when you hit the start menu and you see a couple of tiles on the right side. But yeah, they basically got rid of that whole concept. Um, the article goes into why it went wrong. Most people understand why Windows 8 went wrong. Like it was unusable because they tried to do too much. Like iPad came out, Android was popping, smartphones were beginning to be the thing. And Microsoft wasn't in that race at all during the time because they didn't have a Windows like operating system for the phones. It was before Windows Phone came out. I think Windows Phone came out during the era of Windows 8, but um, it just wasn't
yeah.
really pushed out there. It wasn't really the product, but it had so many different issues because they were trying to make it like a desktop OS as well as making it like a tablet OS.
Time, oh, yeah, and it's just,
And it became a Frankenstein. It was a monster. It was a monster of itself. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a monster in a good way. Nobody liked it. Nobody wanted to use it. It was hard to to manage when it came to installing old applications on a new platform. Like, how can I still use my old stuff when they were trying to get people to start developing in a new way for this new platform and the new apps that came out for it looked all janky and they
it
were
didn't. It definitely looked and felt like it wasn't thoroughly thought out, man. Like
yeah,
that.
it
It's
wasn't.
like when you're trying to have you have too many different thoughts on like what you're trying to accomplish, man. It almost sounds like there were too many things that so they sat down in the war room and thought about all right, so how we gonna do this new
Mhm.
and you have to generally come to a head where you say, okay, this is the point we're going to go with. That design or what it seemed like they were trying to go with, it seems like the person who okayed the project moving forward thought everybody had a good idea and wanted to implement it all at the same time. It doesn't
Yeah,
work that way.
yeah, you wanted to agree with everybody. And that's what they actually said in the article. Like it was trying to be the jack of all trade and it failed at all of them. Yeah, like it was trying to be too many things. It was trying to be the desktop OS, trying to be the tablet OS, and it didn't work in either realm. The people that used to use Windows 7 and loved the way that Windows was felt like Windows 8 couldn't perform. And then everybody that used it as a tablet was like wondering why do these apps not look they're not useful. Like there's a UI design, there's a user interface design as part of building applications. And like when it comes to a tablet, it's a different way of using it from a mouse. So you're using your fingers for the most part. So like the buttons have to be fit for your fingers. And they did not design most of that stuff for that. And like when people try to use like Microsoft Office, like if you try to use Word or spreadsheets on there, it wasn't designed for your fingers on a tablet. So trying to press on a cell or trying to type in something like that using that janky keyboard that they
Yeah.
had, shit wasn't just designed for that shit.
But it was just
Like when Apple created with their iPad, they were like, "Yo, we're only making it for this iPad. We're making iOS work for this system. It's based off of the iPhone, but it's a whole new way of dealing with computing, and it's a
yeah,
whole new interface, and it's going
something
to
completely
require
different.
it's going to be something completely different. And we're not going to try to appease people of older platforms. We're not going to try to make the apps that people use on Mac OS work on iOS.
Yeah. It was pretty.
And
What they did was good. What created that is that it was out with the old and in with the new. That's what you got to
yeah,
do.
yeah, and then that's what they did, and that's what Microsoft did not do.
That's what they.
And even with because they had Windows Phone too, that was another thing. Like Windows RT, I'm not even going to bring up Windows RT. Like Windows RT was basically the stripped out version of Windows 8. Like Windows 8 was trying to be desktop and tablet. Windows RT was just Windows 8 for only tablet. But they didn't like optimize that
There
thing
were
to
no real
be.
improvements.
Yeah, it really was the same thing. No, and nobody was developing for it. So it wasn't even a thing. So, and that was the same thing for Windows Phone. Like people actually loved the OS for Windows Phone. They loved the idea of what it could do, but the developers, which is the main thing, the third party developers, the people that's creating Facebook and creating Google Maps and so all that, none of them were creating stuff for Windows Phone. And and I mean, they even mentioned that in the article about how uh, two of Google's biggest apps, which is YouTube and Google Maps, Google was just blocking them out. It was like, yo, we
Yeah,
not
yeah,
we we not even gonna waste our time trying to create something for you. Like
that was the Windows, man. Get
like I
it.
don't know if you heard of this software called Android, but we got this shit locked already. We don't need Windows. You know what I mean? Like you should have hollered back at us back in like 5 years ago when we wanted your help. I mean, so like,
Ooh.
yeah, I mean that's how the shit is. That's how it is. Like that's probably why they partnered up so tight with them now, because they were like, yo, we sorry, bruh. Let's make amends
Yeah.
because now Microsoft is doing everything with Google.
Shorty trying to say what's up now that she didn't got,
Yeah, yeah, I
oh,
mean,
yeah.
yeah.
That's-
Don't go there, yo.
I'm good though. I'm
Yeah,
good.
yeah, I mean, but like she on that comeback. That's what it is. And I mean, Microsoft has been definitely changed in like the last, I want to say 3 to 4 years since the dude Sasha Nadella came in. Sacha, that's how they pronounce it. Sacha. Yeah, I mean, I call him Sasha. Yeah, I mean, or whatever. Like the
Same
way,
difference.
yeah, I mean, the way he came in and started stripping things out and saying we're gonna focus on not always being the core system, but we're gonna work with all these other platforms. Like now you can get Outlook on Android or iOS. You can get Office on Android or iOS. They're not really trying to fight and try to create their own operating system. They know they already lost the fight. It's like now they living more in a state of reality than they were before because they've been so dominant for so long throughout 2000s and the 90s and early 2000s, that they felt like they could just ride high for the whole way through. And they realize that, nah, in like 5, 10 years, somebody gonna eat your lunch, and it don't take long. I mean, and basically the everything that Android is what Microsoft was supposed
Aiming
to
to
be.
do it. Yeah.
I mean, like,
It's perfectly put, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it in the last article. Like Microsoft, Bill Gates talked about how he was saying that that's a $400 billion industry that they missed out on. I
Mm.
mean, like $400 billion is a lot of
It's a
money.
lot. It is. Yeah.
That's a lot. I mean, that's fluctuation though. That's all the companies that are being spawned out of it. Like all the companies that are being created just because Android exists. Yeah, I mean, like that's creating whole new industries, whole new companies, whole new innovations. And like Microsoft isn't a part of that now because they missed it out. They missed out
And
early.
yeah, that's how Android is a culture now. It's not just like a little company that's just like that's how we have the whole Android versus iPhone, right?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
now you think about it like where would
It's too,
Android versus
and it
iPhone?
wouldn't, and it probably wouldn't have been the same because, like, Android is a variant of Linux, and if you don't know what Linux is basically the open operating system, and like being that as Android is Linux, you can have it where it's the most dominant platform now, where 2 billion people use Linux. I mean, use Android. Whereas if it was Windows, I got a feeling that Microsoft would have stayed with the same old tactics where they making licenses everywhere here and there, and then
And then mess it up.
you
Yeah.
gotta pay to get in, you gotta pay to play, and all this
Well,
stuff, and
yeah,
what it calls what they say is stifles innovation. I mean, so like it's sort of they had to lose so that they can understand why they were losing.
yeah.
I
It's
mean,
it's
like,
it's part of the. It's part of. I think it's great when you see that a company still thrives. It's not always good for everybody just to have their hands in the pot. You know what I mean? And I think Microsoft kind of created their lane anyway. Microsoft, of course, is great at a lot of things, but just looking at how like their just the history of their companies like structure and how they go about innovation and then commerce and stuff like that. Like I just don't think that their ideology of what a company should be would have benefited Android. I don't think it would have.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they essentially had to change what their ideology is. And they definitely did. Like now they're working with everybody. Now they work with Linux. They talk about how they're one of the biggest supporters of Linux. Where back in the day they were threatened by Linux at one point because they knew Linux was the alternative to Windows. They down Linux because they were talking about how Linux couldn't compete against their major platform as marketing has to do. But they did every way that they could to possibly like put down the idea of another operating system like Linux, some open platform. And here comes Android that's under Google coming out, and they actually now have to follow Android and they
Yeah,
have to follow Linux. I mean, and it's one of those things like if you understood what it was back in the day, you could see that it was going to happen, but it's good to see it happening because being open source is just about giving it out to as many people as possible, no matter your income. And that's just a system that is always going to win. That's similar
yeah,
to
you
how,
can't fail.
yeah, that's why Google has dominance with Gmail. That's why Google has dominance with search. That's why they have dominance with maps because they just give it to people and they get their money from advertisers, even though it's off your data, as many people find out um, day to day. But like they make sure that everybody has access to it, and that's going to be the dominant system. If you got the most access, if everybody got access, that's going to be what it is. I mean, if nobody had access to a pencil, nobody be writing. Nobody would know how to write. So they made pencils this normal standard that everybody can have. I mean, so like it's the same concept. But that's really on Microsoft's ass. That's their fault. But they had to learn that to become the company they are today because they still consider the one of the most uh uh not just popular, powerful, but like just
Dominating.
just dominating companies in general in tech and in general and in tech.
Yeah.
Like Like they're never anybody that you can just be like, I'm just gonna pass off Microsoft. Not yet. Not
Not,
yet.
not yet. Got a lot of these other companies coming up, but Microsoft is still it's a reigning king, man. I mean, it just of course, Apple are the divas, but like Microsoft just holds more. Like I think they just have more gravitas in
Yeah.
technology. You know what I mean? Everybody feels more comfortable using. The mass majority of people feel more comfortable using some system that uses Microsoft to do development for regular day-to-day use. Like your PC, that's how it is, man. So
Yeah. And I want to see what happens with them going forward with everything becoming cloud based and being web apps and whatnot. Cause like we talked about with the last episode was Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge Chrome.
Yeah.
Like now that everything is starting to be through web applications and services and subscriptions and stuff like that, instead of installing software on your computer. I want to see what how they play that business model out and see if they do partner up with Google a little bit more. They got that partnership. They trying to do that whole X Cloud thing. And they got a partnership with Sony to
Mm,
use their cloud. That Sony's going to be using Microsoft's cloud. So I just want to see what happens with them going on in the future.
mm.
But next article we have is that Microsoft decided to make a Broadway musical style film about itself.
Oh God.
I mean, this article is completely like, I mean, the article is cool, but the video just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. It's like, why even do it? Basically, they did like a infomercial slash musical.
It's called Microsoft the Musical.
Yeah, they talk about the products that they talk about the products that they create, but then they also talk about like the idea of Bill Gates. They kind of use him as like the pinnacle piece, talking about how he was a dreamer and how anybody can be a dreamer with Microsoft and anybody can build with Microsoft and all the things that they have. But I'm like, why do it as a musical?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
the point.
like, like who you trying to grab in the music that like that are both
Who
tech.
okayed this?
Yeah, like who is both tech and musical friendly. I mean, like I understand people like music, but not musical.
Yeah.
Like like that's a whole nother realm. And it's like, are they I feel like they were just trying to spend the last couple of dollars of the year for their
It's
fiscal
came up with
year.
something.
Yeah, I feel like they had a budget that they were supposed to spend, and they didn't spend all of it for the fiscal year, so they had to spend a couple of extra dollars, and they threw it at this because it don't make sense in any other realm. Like you watch the video and you'd be like, if it was on mute,
If you,
you wonder what they were
if you
talking
read,
about. Like if it was on mute, you just be like, oh, they look entertained. What is this? A movie? What is this? What is
uh,
this? Then you hear him talking about it, like in
um,
Google Cloud and Microsoft Azure and Office products and shit. Like, what the fuck are y'all talking about? Yeah, like y'all
I'm
talking about
lost.
Windows 10 and Microsoft Word. Y'all why y'all dancing to this shit? Like this is work products.
This
Like what are
sounds
y'all
very
talking?
like this sounds like a form of indoctrination, man. Like I don't know who
It is.
the people that signed up for it. They better have gotten paid well, and then
Yeah, you know
it's
they
like
did.
they're fetishizing like Microsoft, like this whole thing of like bro, you just continue to be good at what you do. Like all of this, you know, like you said, this crossover stuff is like, bro,
I feel like this
like,
was I feel like this was a business decision that wasn't ran across the board properly. I feel like they told them we're doing a infomercial. They didn't tell them the type, and they didn't tell them the style. They didn't tell them how long it was going because it was like 10 minutes long or some shit, and they already spent the money on it, so it was no turning back.
they allocated the funds, and
They
they
said it.
probably
They
look at
said
it
it
like,
took
oh
like 8 weeks. They said it took like 8 weeks to do.
man, this is an L in my
It's
book.
a total well.
It's an L. Two thumbs down, Microsoft. I don't know where the inspiration came from or why it was even okayed, man. But you got to think, bro. Like the stuff after a while, like if you're being innovative, but then it doesn't really like it's not really thought about of how it can resonate with your core audience, then this level of innovation can actually be harmful in some way. And of course, the company's not going to tank, but it's like it's not going to move forward with this silliness. I know that's for sure. Like I'm looking at this video, man, it looks cheesy, and I expect you kind of get into when you hear musical, I already think Disney, right?
Yeah,
That's just what I think about in my mind.
and
So
that's what it sounded like.
if we're not talking about Disney shit, like what's the point? Like,
Right.
there's no love story. There's no like, somebody, overcoming anything or like, as far as like how Disney designs their stories. Like, if we talking about all this stuff about regular people, Bill Gates being a great person, like that's good. We know that he proves that. Like Microsoft being effective in what it does, like it's good. Like we know that, you know what I mean. But to have to turn it into something where I don't know, they trying to make this like digestible to kids or something. Because
That's what it feels like. Cause I mean, they all I mean, just looking at the cover picture, it looked like they're all interns freshly out of high school. I mean, and it looks like I mean, they all got their hands up like this, and it's
yeah,
like they already know, like, I don't know. Like, why are we making this video? Who knows?
bro,
We're just making it.
the
Have fun.
kids that I grew up,
That
I
ain't
know, and how I grew up, they don't resonate with this type of stuff. It's corny.
corny as hell. They shouldn't have put their name on it for real. They should have just called it the musical. I mean, just don't take off Microsoft.
But you know what's ironic? I feel like, and this just speaks to the stands of Apple. I feel like if Apple pulls some shit like this, maybe. And so it's a split. I feel like if Apple would have tried to
Speak
do
on
it,
it.
it would have
Speak
been a
on
little bit more entertaining. But then it's like it's still it would be in their lane anyway because this is what they kind of do. Like
it.
this would be a stronger example of how they like just their whole culture. You know what I mean? Like I can see Apple in this lane more than I would see Microsoft.
Yeah, and I guess yeah, that's also a good way to look at it because you can definitely say that it's a more of a community play than anything else because they're trying to appeal to a broader audience. Like when you watch the video, there's nothing technical about it at all. It's all like fun loving. It's definitely a Disney musical. Um, it is. I mean, no, it's just that the words that they use are Microsoft product names. I mean, Microsoft Azure, Microsoft Office. I mean, Windows. Like, how do y'all put these in the musical? It doesn't make sense. But if you don't think about that part, it just looks like a fun musical for kids to entertain themselves with. And yeah, that can be very indoctrinating because if a kid does adapt to it and be like, "Yeah, I like it," next thing you know, they spitting out Microsoft product names and they don't know no better. They just like the musical. They hoping.
I
I
guess.
guess they hoping that this video gets caught up in like YouTube Kids or something, and kids are watching the video, liking the video, and dancing to it, singing their lyrics, and getting indoctrinated.
That's true because kids do catch on. Like they stuff I listen to like with my nephews like think it's cool and stuff like that. I'm at that age now. I can be like, come on, man, that stuff is cool. I don't know why y'all like this stuff, but I guess that's a valid point. Maybe you put it out there to kids, you get them early. Because when I'm thinking tech, you know, I don't know why this is like what you said. I don't know how this is like intermingled with tech in some ways. It's like,
Yeah,
bro,
I could see if like Microsoft was still in like the media content industry where they were creating shows and stuff like that, where they created a kids channel or some shit, and this was part of it. But it
part.
was yeah, it was part of it, not like and because it just don't make sense. Is one video just dropped out of nowhere and there's no other part of the marketing campaign. It's just this. This is the marketing campaign. Like this is the best you got.
No.
No, it's really just. I think it's just to capture the outside market for people that just have the name of Microsoft associated with something that is not tech, and it sucks basically to me. This guy looks like he's from like 1993 with the staggering sweater on and his hair
Yeah, man.
curled the way it is.
Definitely look like some type of late '80s, like
Yeah, like Nickelodeon video. Like, yo, I'm expecting him to get slimed in a minute.
it looks like his face is just slime ready. That's what it
Yeah,
looks.
yeah, like he's just waiting for a surprise. He's talking
Yeah.
all fun and he doesn't know that he's about to be slimed.
Oh man, this is a fail, and I hope they
This
never
is a
go back
fail.
to. I hope there's no Microsoft the musical part two revisited or Microsoft gets more musical. How did you name musicals now? They just
How they
shouldn't.
see how they name him? I
Yeah,
don't know how they name him. Last musical I remember hearing anything about was Oklahoma and Hamilton. I mean, I ain't seen neither one of them, so I couldn't even tell you.
I'm good. Yeah,
Uh,
me too. Yeah, go
okay.
you go to the last article.
I mean, come out with a mascot or something. Like, if you're gonna go do the whole thing, don't just
Yeah.
throw in a random musical, whatever. Um, Microsoft, this new article, the last article is going to be Microsoft proved a 4-day work week, improved productivity in Japan. Can its results translate to the U.S.? Um, this was a topic that they talked about this like I want to say late October, early November,
Mm,
but it's been a topic that's been floating around because of the fact that they considered it to be a proven fact that it is potentially a viable solution.
it's proof, yeah.
Yeah, that of that you could change your system around to be like a 4-day work week instead of the traditional 5 week day, or in a lot of people's cases, particularly in America, the potential to have a 7-day work week. Um, like the stress that that could potentially put on on humans and the productivity that they have. Um, just being when I was reading the article and when I was going through learning about this, well, they learned it from dealing with Japan. Microsoft has a division in Japan. It's Microsoft Japan, or
Yeah.
however they name it. But they have a division over there where the management in Japan has decided, because of the culture of Japan, to implement the 4-day work week. And basically, what they found out is that throughout those 4 days, people are more productive. And throughout those 4 days, people tend to even work more for those 4 days. And then they chill out on their fifth day. So,
Yeah.
like, they may actually put in a 5-day worth of work, like a 5-day work week worth of work, but they're able to compact it in that 4 day. And then on that fifth day, 6, 7, they do what they do. And when they come back, they are comfortable coming back during that next week worth of work. And like they don't feel as stressed out doing that work because they have more time to chill,
More time to unwind,
to
relax,
unwind and bring it
go
and
through the work life cleanse, yeah.
yeah, like it becomes a thing when you like. I mean, it's a ratio factor. You have the 5 and 2 ratio factor right now for most people, and then the general consensus of employment is 5 days on, 2 days off, and those 2 days they go quick as hell. They like like a snap of a finger. They disappear.
Yeah.
Uh,
And if you're in tech, sometimes them 2 days it really be a 6 to 1. If you got some type of launch or some type of
I mean,
something that got to be put up.
I, I mean, I raise my hand to this because, like, I mean, technically, I'm on call all the time, and I have full on access to my servers, and I'm always able to do something if anything is an emergency that needs to be done. So, even on my days off, I'm technically in a position where I'm capable of working. I mean, I work online, so I don't have to. I mean, I have an office, but I don't necessarily have to be at the office to do my work because the work that I do isn't done in the office. It's done
On the
down in
computer.
a data center somewhere
Yeah.
nobody ever actually touches or sees. It's just me and a couple people that all access those servers. But like that still means that even though you think like I don't have to do nothing, I don't have to lift nothing to go nowhere, I still am on call 24/7 and I still have to understand how to get my
Yeah,
work done no
right.
matter where I'm at.
Regardless, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Serious.
you still have to be able to do the work. But nonetheless, just being able to have like even I take my Fridays off. We don't have a 4-day work week, and that's just something that's not implemented anywhere in most
Oh,
worlds unless it's part time.
and I want to throw this out there, by the way, for people that some of the folks that may understand where I'm coming from. Just work 4 days working in the office and then working from home
Hmm.
on the fifth day is not a 4 day work week.
Yeah, that's
You
not
still have to work
yeah,
5 days, although you may try to slack
yes,
on the fifth day.
yes,
It's still a 5 day work week. And
yes.
what we're talking about here is it's mandatory. You have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday starts the weekend.
Yeah, so it's a mandatory fifth day off.
Yeah.
Well, not fifth day off, but mandatory 4-day work week based on government rule type thing. So like or at least Microsoft's rule.
Mhm.
Um, but it's one of those things where it's actually implemented office wide. It's not just an employee taking PTO or taking a day off or deciding to work from home where you're still accountable. Like you still have to do work when you work from home. You can't be lollygagging.
Right.
Um,
Just make sure
but
your status don't stay away. That's all.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
basically,
we're trade secrets here.
basically, yeah, you gotta know how to do it. You gotta know how to get your wins. Like I got a friend that her whole business model is working from home. Her whole um,
Wow.
she works for a company for an insurance firm, but they work from home. I mean, like 50% of the staff is home based, and that's just the model of how it works for them. But they have to be on call. They have to be continuously active. They have system software on their computer that monitors their activity to make sure that they're productive the whole time. But like it's a viable solution. But that's different from actually having a 4-day work week where you can ease your mind and just completely free yourself from thinking about the stresses of work.
And the thing that was cool about that, I can't remember if it was an article I read or someone told me, but I think in Russia they already have it like where the majority of the companies, and I could be wrong, I could be quoting it wrong, but it said majority like of the just a work employee. The culture there is that it's 3 to 4 days at the maximum work, and they actually found that they get more done because here in the Americas, we space things out. Of course, 5 days mandatory, maybe even more. And they say that generally the work that can be done that we spread out here over the course of 5 days can be compacted into at least 3 days.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking if people hit a short burst, and so I can see how that could potentially be better because people would be a lot more well rested. I don't think we are just as human beings, man. We're not designed to work for some the slave for
Yeah.
somebody for the majority of our lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
A
have to
lot of
be
the systems.
stressful. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, man. A
Good.
lot of the systems that we put in place, I mean, we didn't design around our well-being. Like we
Correct.
designed them around getting the job done and being productive. I always say productive. I'm thinking productivity, but they never really are designed for our well-being and for us to have any type of longevity doing those tasks. Like if some of these jobs weren't designed for burnout, like people will probably do most of their jobs for their whole lifetime instead of doing a job for a couple years and being like, yo, I can't do this no more. I gotta quit.
Yeah.
It was just designed for burnout, or if they allow for more employees or anything, like there's always I don't know, man. Like companies are always trying to find ways to cut costs and cut like employments and paying people out for things, paying for benefits and whatnot to the employees. Like as if they're not going to ultimately make money nonetheless if they just keep in operation. Um, there's one of these. There's this ideology that you just got to keep churning the minimum amount of like resources that you have to get the most benefit out of. So like if your employees are seen as a resource or a commodity, you try to get as much out of them as you can to get as much productivity as you can
Yeah.
without having to get that
Pins
many
and pennies.
employees. It's like that's cool and all, but that's how revolution start. That's how rebellion start. That's how people start like hanging up their employers and shit. Like, yo, fuck it, we're just gonna raid this shit. We just gonna
Right.
like,
Mass shootings, man.
yeah, because I mean, you want to see society take over and go at that 1%. Keep giving them 50-hour, 60-hour, 70-hour work weeks. You'll see your uprising. I mean, like, because people just gonna have enough, and they go to this point of a break of insanity, and like, I mean, that's just what it is. You can't really push people beyond their limits, and you got to understand what their limits are.
There you go.
We've been able to do it for a while, but it's not a sustainable method of like offering employment to people. I mean, you can see the improvement just by having this example be done. Japan is made out, and they
Yeah.
continue to be making out. So, I mean, just seeing what it does, implementing it where they can. Like I said, if I was you, if you got the opportunity, if you have a position where you're able to potentially either minimize one of those days that you work, or you're able to just give yourself as much time that you need, take it because
Yeah.
it's worth it more in the long run.
Bro, work ain't going nowhere, but your life is,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, your
And
health and your life is
the
important. Like,
company ain't gonna experience. There's plenty of people. Microsoft been around for some time. There's plenty of people who started working there, and plenty of people who maybe even died or retired from there, and that company is still going. So,
yeah,
man, take the time to enjoy the time you have, man. Like, don't be slaving. I just feel like it's becoming some type of like a motivational speech talk or something like that.
yeah.
But nah, for
Yeah,
real,
it kinda is, yo.
like,
I mean, you can be a company man, but for so long. I mean, like, it's you can do that company thing if you want to, but after a while, you might find out that that company really doesn't have nothing invested in you beyond the work that you can offer. Like, a lot of people tend to, make their company their home and, like, their employees are their family and all this stuff, and, like, no, you gotta have an outside life. I mean, you gotta go and live somewhere else because when that's over with, that's over with. So, like, you gotta make your life a priority and not just your work.
remember that stuff can be cut short too, man. It be family, family, family until you get on that PIP program, performance improvement.
Yeah.
And then they're like, you're on your way. I mean, you're on your way out. They trying to replace you. I'm talking from experience here. You know what I mean? So it'll be all lovey dovey. And yeah, we go out to the bars or happy hours, stuff like that.
Yeah,
But when
yeah,
it's time to make cuts, you'll
exactly.
see how sociopathic these companies become. And you
Yeah,
can't, what I mean? You can't be on that wave of like thinking just because you spend the mass majority of your time there that's where your life's purpose is. And I think that maybe like going back to the article, I think that's kind of maybe was the driving force behind them making the change or doing this test to see like what do people really do. Like, well, one, Japan is just already. I feel, in my opinion, Japan is just technologically more advanced than anything else, everybody else in the world. They already got like 3D like museums and stuff like that of like
mhm,
the virtual, like it's just stay on another level. So to take it to that level, it requires like a different level of talent, expertise, and commitment. So to condense that into a 4-day work week and then giving people the time and space to really recharge, so that like I just think it's bound to work. And hey, I feel like that's something that Microsoft can lead the charge on. Coming to the Americas, you never know what that can do. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah, more power to you if you got to work more than 50 hours. I'm saying 50 because that's usually the range that I'm in anyway. So, if you're doing that or more than, like, if you even working 45, 40 hours and you feel like you're not getting the benefit of what your work is worth, more power to you to find something worthwhile because, at the end of the day, you ultimately a number as an employee, and, like, people care about you, but you gotta really do what you gotta do for yourself.
There you
Yeah, but not to bring it down to this whole
go.
self-help motivational thing. Um, that's basically the last article. If anybody really likes this show, y'all know what to do. Y'all gotta hit the like button, the subscribe button, comment, share feedback. We love feedback. Um, we'll continue to be doing this weekly, weekly, weekly. So if you like Microsoft or you like to know more about the Microsoft recap, more about like Microsoft news in general, hop on that Microsoft recap and listen to listen to more of this later. Got anything to say? I'm kind of
Nah, man, you already. You said it, man. Like, comment, subscribe. We at wherever you frequent, man. That's where we at. Just look for us. The Microsoft recap. We got a lot of great stuff coming your way. We wanted to hear more of what you all suggestions would be and just get some more input because you know the more and more we give you all what you want, the more and more you like the show. So, yeah, man, it's just any comments, suggestions, or just you know commentary on how we did or like what you like, just drop it in the comment below. You got emails, and I'm gonna send us an email. Tell us what you think. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, we're gonna continue feeding y'all with that dope ass news. I'll let y'all. Have fun out
All
there.
right, sure. Peace.